Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we get a race update from last week, and then we'll get into another couple of topics regarding my fleet of cars that we've got here. So those who haven't seen, I have a 2024 X-Ray X12. This is a 2022 X-Ray X4, and then my Tamiya TT02 Mustang GT4. Last Sunday in Ottawa at the Smith Falls track was the debut running of my X12 in the GT4 class. First, I just want to thank the two Brads and James for being super welcoming and accommodating me in my first race in that class. Obviously, I was the slowest of the four, but they had a lot of good and encouraging things to say about having some more cars in that class. So again, thanks to you guys for that. Really, really fun to drive. I really enjoyed the class. It's basically a giant mini Z, so the challenges of a rear-wheel drive only car versus my two touring cars that are four-wheel drive. But I loved the size of the car for the track layout. I thought it was perfect. So I had a lot of fun with that. I'm really looking forward to future races with the X12 in the GT4 class, or sorry, GT12. Obviously finished fourth of four, but hey, that's okay. I still had a lot of fun with it, so more on that later. In USGT, I debuted my new Protoform body, thanks to Andrew for the awesome paint jobs of both of these cars. I love the USGT class. It's a lot of fun, very interesting shapes and styles of cars, just the right speed for my level of experience. I finished first in the B main and got bumped up to the A main, so that was kind of a nice surprise. I got to race with the really, really fast guys. Again, not finishing the highest, but still a lot of fun. And then finally, the Mustang. So have had some things going on with the Mustang, particularly with the rear end of the car. I've had some recent experiences of the rear end skipping through corners and then experiencing a snap oversteer, and it just made the car very unstable in fast sweeping corners, very frustrating to drive. And unfortunately, in trying to solve that problem last Sunday, I made way too many changes at once, changing some dual rate settings, some steering expo, some suspension settings in the back, and the car just made it that much more difficult to drive in the main. So didn't do too well there. So a bit of a demoralizer in the TT GT front, but my races in USGT and GT12 more than made up for it. So coming up is a big race in Quebec called La Roche. I will be racing all three cars again, but some interesting changes coming. So USGT in larger races seems to be a dying class, unfortunately, of course, just as I'm getting into it. So unfortunately at the Roche, there isn't an official USGT class being accommodated. So speaking with some of the organizers, they may do an exhibition GT12 class if there's enough interest, but otherwise I'm going to enter this car in the 21.5 touring class, touring car class. So what I plan on doing is running it in its USGT spec, however, running it with the touring car body that came with the car when I first bought it. So this will be new to me. I'm solely used to racing this car in its USGT form, including the body. So, I mean, the handling should be more or less the same. However, I'll be interested to see with the touring car body if, any aerodynamics nuances with the style of body changes the handling of the car. I don't have any high expectations. I've never been in a touring car class before. And I'm also running, a fixed timing stock USGT motor versus some of the other motors that the other guys will be racing. So again, no expectations. I'm just looking to kind of enjoy the experience of a larger race that goes over the course of 3 days, and we'll just see how it goes. No expectations there. I will be racing the Mustang again in the TTGT class. Hopefully, I've got the rear end issues sorted out. I've got one more race in Ottawa before that big weekend, so that'll be kind of a test case to see how my small adjustments in the rear end will help those problems that I've been having. And then finally, I'll be racing the X12 in the GT12 class, so looking forward to that as well. Let's talk quickly about the USGT class that I mentioned earlier. So some larger races USGT is actually falling off the roster as a class and is being replaced by the 25.5 Le Mans Hypercar class. So there is that class at the Roche in Quebec. I'm a little bit hesitant to convert this car into that class. I think I'm going to stick with running this car as a 21.5 touring car for that one. And I'm just going to kind of watch to see how that 25.5 LMH class shakes out at that race. I certainly don't want to get rid of the USGT body now that I've just got rid of it, but potentially down the road I may convert this car to a 25.5 LMH car, or heck, maybe just buy a second touring car so I can have both a USGT and a LMH car. So we'll see what happens there. So overall, again, the race last weekend was a huge success with these two cars. I've got a bit of work to do here with the Mustang, but hey, that's all about racing, right? Things don't go right and you make some changes and hopefully things will get better. I'll report back in early December with the Ottawa race on how things happen there, and then certainly looking forward to this larger race in Quebec. Again, no expectations based on the crowd that's likely going to be there. I'm just looking to have fun and kind of immerse myself in one of a larger style event and just enjoy the lap times and the trigger time that I'll get by racing in those three classes. So once again, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Please thumbs up my videos. I really enjoy some of the interactions I'm getting in the comments. And stand by for the next video in and around early December for the next race in December. Thanks very much. Everyone, just a quick prologue to the video, because I'm sure people are going to ask, what am I going to do about the Mustang? So I'm just going to take a quick extra few minutes and talk about this. So like I said, I was experiencing some rear end skipping in sweeping corners, which resulted in just like an instant loss of traction and snap oversteer in the corner. So what am I going to do about that? So what I first did is I took the rear shocks off and I just rebuilt them. I mean, there's not much to them. They're not oil filled or anything. They're just friction shocks. But it seems that just putting them back together from scratch has taken a lot of the slack or the slop that I previously had in those shocks. Before I could move the springs, there was probably like maybe 1/4 of an inch play of the springs when they were seated in the shocks. Well, they're not doing that anymore, so everything seems to be a little bit tightened up. What I also was talking to a few other folks with is the battery that I'm running. So I'm running the Gens Ace low center of gravity batteries. I don't have one with me right now, but if you picture this foam block as representative of the battery under the battery retaining cover, if you want to call it, it shakes around up and down as the car bounces along the track. So the battery was very loose in the tray and bouncing around. So presumably maybe that weight shifting was causing a little bit of instability in the chassis. So what I'm going to do is continue to run that low center of gravity battery, but I'm going to run this piece of foam on top to kind of clamp down the battery in its battery holder. So hopefully that will help with maybe some weight oscillations. The other thing I'm going to do is experiment with these tires. So these are the new belted gravity tires that are new for this year. Last year we ran the foam ones. These are the belted ones. So I don't know if the issues that I'm having are related to these belted tires, but I'm going to experiment a little bit with how I apply the traction compound front to rear. And I'm also going to experiment based on some tips that I got of potentially applying just a little bit of glue to the sidewall of the tire to help kind of manage the progressive traction in the front end. And that may just induce a little bit more understeer and stability in higher speed corners, and it won't snap the rear around. So a couple things there I'm going to try out. So I just wanted to add that to the end of the video, and I'll report back on I think it's the 6th of December on how those changes worked out. Talk to you soon.